So you want to start an ecom business, but your bank account is asking if we can try again next month. Here's the truth that the world keeps from you. You don't need thousands of pounds, or a warehouse, or even an investor. You just need an MVP. In this video, I will show you the step-by-step process of how to get from where you are to your fully fledged vision of your e-commerce business. This exact process allowed me to build an e-commerce fashion brand from my university room over 7 years to become an ASOS.com partnered brand. And I have now helped over 100 startup teams on their early journeys, some of them to become 7-figure companies. And I can hear some of you saying, yes, I know all about minimum viable products, or the fastest and cheapest version of your actual business to make sure that it's going to work before you commit all of your time and money. But I want to push you a little further than thinking about a minimum viable product and start to think of it as a minimum viable process. This really helps to pull away from that linear thinking that encourages you to build a physical product and actually bring it to market. So here's some examples of minimum viable processes for early stage e-commerce businesses that you might not have thought of because they are not physical products. All right, first up, the trapdoor MVP. This is when you sell it before you actually build it. It sounds slightly cheeky, but it's not actually new. Here's how you do it. You set up a landing page, you write out your product as if it actually exists, and then the checkout button links to a not in stock error sign. And before you've spent any money on real product, you'll know that if people click, you've got demand. If you don't click, you've just saved yourself a load of money and 3 months of tears. The crowdfunding MVP. So let's say you've got a fantastic idea and you just need some money to bring it to life. Instead of burning into your own savings, you make the future potential customers fund the launch. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, all viable options. Some caveats though, to win at crowdfunding, you need 2 things. A problem that people actually want solved and a compelling story that is simplistic enough to fit into an explainer video. This route is great for specific causes. So let's say you already have a niche or maybe a community of people who are very much willing to back the idea. But crowdfunding also takes quite a lot of time and it hasn't got the best success rate. So if you've got those 2 things, it's worth a go. Oh, speaking of money, we will talk about how to make your MVP actually pay for your business in the next section. But first up, the dropshipping MVP. So it's not about building a long-term brand around these initial dropshipped products, but instead we want to use it as a learning tool. So you pick a product that is similar to your end goal. Obviously, there is possibly going to be some major changes between the thing that you sell and the thing that you actually want to create. Otherwise, what are you doing? Just copying something that people already love? But something that loads of founders seem to overlook is that there are thousands of reasons why your business might not work, and your product is only one of them. So if you can make this store work with a similar product that people are actually already searching for, the second you switch out their product to your own product, you will know if you've built the right thing. And suddenly, you can grow extremely fast because you've already built the machine that brings customers in and keeps them. Okay, so there's some of the most common MVPs for early stage e-commerce businesses, but there's not all of them. And sometimes you just don't fit into any of those categories. So I'm going to whiz through a few of the other options. The Wizard of Oz MVP. So you would set up a completely normal looking front end of the store. However, when somebody makes a purchase, everything is done manually. So you would go and manually buy that product from somebody and ship it out to the customer. This could be very similar to manufacture on demand, but the point is that nobody actually knows it's manufacture on demand. A concierge MVP, so you offer a highly manual and very much personalized service to the early customers. For example, you hand pick and package all of the products for each order before going and automating any of your processes. The single feature MVP. Launch with only one core feature that you actually wanted, or maybe one core product that you actually wanted. Essentially just think smaller than the fully fledged thing at the end. But now you're asking yourself, how do I actually choose the right one that's for me? Because not all MVPs are created equally, and if you choose the wrong one, you could spend a lot of time learning the wrong lesson. Let's map out which MVP is best for your business based on your product type, your resources and skill sets, and the speed that you want to move. Using the most common examples of MVPs that I gave earlier, if you've got no budget and no audience, start with the trapdoor MVP. You'll know fast if there's going to be any interest at all, and you can iterate on product development very quickly. If you've got a validated idea and some early buzz, try the crowdfunding MVP. It's great if your product is innovative or unique or purpose-driven especially. Just be ready to put in the legwork. If your product idea isn't exactly groundbreaking or revolutionary, then the dropship MVP makes perfect sense. Very low barrier to entry, there's a very fast feedback loop, and it's a great way to trial all your systems, all your marketing efforts before committing any money to the stock you want. When you're picking the right MVP for you, I really want you to lean on your skill set and your resources. If you or your best friends can bang out a landing page in a couple of days, then go do it. If you're a great storyteller and you think that making an explainer video sounds kind of fun, then go do it. If you have marketing experience and you think that product is the hard bit, then try the dropshipping route. Still unsure? Start where your risk is lowest and your feedback is fastest, because progress beats perfection every time. And remember, whichever one you do choose, you're not locked in. That's the point of MVPs. MVPs are there for you to learn, test, adapt, and iterate. Okay, now let's talk money. I said that MVPs would get you from where you are to having enough money to build your fully fledged business. And that only really seems obvious in the crowdfunding route that I mentioned. The real trick here is to let your MVP both fund and validate your product development. This way, you are certain people actually want the thing before you make the thing. Here's some of the more difficult MVP examples and how I would go about monetizing them. In the trapdoor MVP example, people clicking on the button isn't going to bring you any money, unless that button, of course, is a pre-order function. If for whatever reason you're struggling to get people to pre-order, then it would be a case of getting so much validation from this landing page and so much buzz and attention around it that you could go to an investor and get a very small lump of cash. And I do mean small, even if it's just a few £1,000s for the initial run from the supplier, these people definitely exist. So the dropshipping example is more suited to validation than funding due to its very low margins. You could absolutely grind it out very slowly until you get enough money to purchase your first run of products. But if you have keen customers on your site already, you could add another pre-order function like in the example previously. However, this time the customer would get a discount soon as the order quantity got to a certain target. So let's say you needed 50 people to pay at this discounted rate in order for you to afford 100 products. Then you could wait till the number hits that, and if it doesn't ever hit that, you can refund everybody. And I think it's quite important to mention that depending on your product type, there are suppliers out there who work on a sell or return basis. This is usually for higher ticket items like artwork. So now you've picked an MVP and you know how to make money from it, we're not quite done. Because choosing the right MVP really only gets you to launch, but to scale, that's a whole other beast. Next, we need to put you through the Bullseye marketing framework to get as many people to your store as possible, which you can follow by clicking on this link here. I'll see you there.